Hey, what's up, y'all? Happy New Year's Eve. Oh my gosh, can you guys believe that we're literally on the last day of 2023? I still don't know where this year went. Literally. But I wanted to hop on today because I was talking to God and just trying to see what was on his heart as we prepare to enter into 2024. And I was just kind of reflecting on the year. And I know for many of us, 2023 was really a year of pruning. It was a year of preparation. It was a year of isolation. It was a year of learning to hear God's voice for yourself. Um, it's been a year of transition, leaving jobs, starting new positions, moving away, stepping out of your comfort zone to follow what God is calling you to do. And so I'm talking to God about all these things, and I'm just thinking about these things in perspective. And I was asking him, Lord, what's on your heart? And what I felt like he was bringing up was, friendships, new circles. So I'm like, okay, Lord, well, send me to a scripture that is speaking on this or speaking on what you're trying to say. So what he sent me to was 1 Samuel 18, 1 and 3. Or 1 through 3, but I'll just read the first one. So it says, after David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. So as I began to sit with that verse and really was just trying to listen to what God was trying to say to me, he, brought to mind a few things. So I thought I'd get on and share them with you. Again, like I was saying, many of us have been in this season of just preparation. God's been preparing us for our next and what he wants to walk us into. But it's been such a season of isolation that we often found ourselves one-on-one just with you and God, you know what I mean? And it's been like that through the year. But what he was showing me is I'm preparing you now for what you'll need later. And I'm preparing the people you'll need for later now. So when we're getting prepared to step into our destinies and step into the purpose that God created us for, it can definitely feel lonely. You're faced with many different seasons of stretching. You're faced with new things that you weren't used to before. You're shedding the old things that can't go with you to your next, and it can be really uncomfortable. But what God was showing me is that with David, with this story, with him, his friendship happened right after he stepped into destiny. His friendship with Jonathan came about after he stepped into purpose. And how did he step into purpose? Well, he was willing to stand up and step up for God. He was willing to be in the right position. So for those of y'all who don't know, David is the one who fought Goliath, right? Big old giant. He took him out, right? Well, David didn't look like he would be able to do it. Based on his stature, based on how he looked compared to Goliath, it didn't look like something that he could complete. But that didn't stop David. David was like, you know what? If ain't nobody else gonna stand up for God, I will stand up for God. Even if it looks like I can't do it, I know I'm not operating on my own strength, so I will stand for God. He stepped up in confidence that God would be with him, not in himself, but that God had his back. And he would reflect on times past. He knew that as a shepherd, okay, God protected me when I had to fight the lions. He protected me when I had to fight the bears. He gave me victory over those things. So why would he not also give me victory over Goliath? So he was willing to move forward. He knew that God had his back. And I wrote down a couple things about David here. Okay, so David was curious, right? He saw that there was a problem and he wanted to solve it. He wanted to know what the reward would be if he solved that problem. David also had the right perspective. He didn't magnify the issue, he magnified God. Everybody else was focused on Goliath's size, but David was like, psh, who is this dude? That he would be speaking against God like that? Are you serious? Nobody's gonna do nothing. I'll do something. He knew that the God who backed him up was way bigger than Goliath, regardless if he was a giant or not. It was nothing to God. David was willing to go. He offered his yes. He was willing to stand up. He was willing to fight. He was willing to go into battle, even though everyone else around him ridiculed him and was like, dude, are you really going to fight him? You don't look like you even have the ability or the capability to. But David knew he wasn't relying on his own strength. He was relying on God's strength and relying on what he knew God could do. He already knew how God would show up for him. He might not have known it specifically for this instance, but he knew from his past experience with God that he had his back. David remained true to himself. He remained true to himself. So when Saul wanted to give him his armor, this big old heavy armor to weigh David down, saying, oh, you got to go into battle like this, David tried it on for a second, but he's like, no, you know what, I'm good. I'm gonna stick to what I know. I'm gonna grab my slingshot, I'm gonna grab some stones, like, I got this. I'm gonna use what I'm used to. David knew how to stay in his lane, y'all. Like, he stayed in his lane and operated with what he was used to operating with what God had taught him to operate with. And he was comfortable in that, even though everybody else was looking at him like, what are you doing, But David was good being who God called him to be. And what God showed me with this is that, for y'all who don't know, David beat Goliath, right? But what he showed me is that it wasn't until David had the victory over Goliath, it wasn't until that God sent the friend, that God sent his helper, that God sent his destiny helper. It wasn't until after he had the victory over Goliath did he run into Jonathan, who immediately felt a connection with him and wanted to help him whatever way he could. And in this, God was showing me, many of us, we're stepping out on faith. We're doing what God has been calling us to do. We've been in this season of isolation just to ourselves, doing what he's asking us, staying in our word, learning to hear his voice, trying to see what's on his heart. We've been in this season, right? But God was saying, like, yeah, you're in this season now, right? I need your focus. I need your full attention in this season now. But as you begin to step out and as you step into destiny and as you step into the purpose that I've created you for, then and only then will I send the people that you need. Then I'll send those destiny helpers. Then I'll send those people to help you prosper and to help you do the thing that I've called you to do. So my encouragement to you as you walk into 2024 is know that this season, this last year of 2023 was not in vain. The isolation, not in vain. The pruning, the stretching, the uncomfortable situations, not in vain. God is preparing you to step into purpose. He's preparing you to do all that he's called you to do. And don't feel like because you've been alone in this last season that it will always be that way. God is going to send the people you need. He's going to send the destiny helpers. He's going to send the people that are meant to help you along in your purpose and to accomplish all that he's putting you to do. 2023 was a year, y'all. I know it. Okay, y'all seen me from the beginning, quit my job, not knowing what the heck I was going to do, and maneuver through that, all the steps through the months, figuring out and finding my way and listening to God's voice and learning to hear it more clearly. You've seen it. It's a stretching process that I've been going through, and I know so many of you guys are going through the same thing. But I just want to encourage you. God will send the help you need. The things that he's calling you to do will feel way bigger than you. But he's not expecting you to do it alone. He will help you, and he will also send people to help you. People that know things that you need to know. People that can help elevate you. People that'll speak your name in rooms that you haven't stepped into yet. People that'll give you advice. People that'll help usher you into the very thing that God has called you into. So I just hope this really encourages you, and I hope that you know that God's really got your back. And as you prepare to step into destiny, and as you prepare to step into the purpose and the things that God has for you, the help you need is on the way, okay?